So I'm just going to save this as week 11 combustion L01. Right. So last week we did. First of all, we started off doing all our varied properties, which I could rebuild again. Obviously, it's a little bit boring to go through all that. We've done it last week. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to file, save, and then I'm going to file, open. I'm just going to navigate to last week's lesson. Scenes. Just open up the last one, which is render. This is erroring because there's been a slight change. This is made an old graph, so it's saying these are slightly changed. That's something you've got to be aware of. It will sometimes error up. I mean, if you have got older graphs, I know some of you have been playing around with Bifrost. There have been sort of big changes that sometimes affect your graphs you've made. Right. So let's move this over. So that's our smoke from last week. So I've got all these various source properties: the speed, direction, temp, and fog. If I select them all and go Control G, like grouping, makes them into a compound. This is like a really powerful part of Bifrost. Is once you make graphs that do certain jobs, you can group them into a compound. You can give them a name. So I'm going to call this JM Vary Source. Let's not do it capitals. JM Vary Source Air Setup, something like that. I still got capitals. Keyboard's playing up. JM Vary Source. JM Vary Source Air Start. Something like that. So and I've got that. Let's just having a little think. There we go. So what I can now do is I can go create, publish this compound because I've got it selected. You can also right click it and go publish, or do Control P, and it's going to bring up this little browser. I'm basically going to put it into that Autodesk folder where hopefully you've copied the Rebel pack, and it's using the compound name as a name. I could change that, and I'll just go publish like so. So now if I go back to my other scene, save that, I should be able to now go failed relative minimum object. And that's not anything odd. I can now go over here and I can tab and I can go JM. Oops. I can just actually do JMV probably, and it will bring up Vary Source Air Start. Yeah, I made another one earlier when I was trying it out, so that's the one I just made. So I can now, if I wanted to, I could just drag that in there and drag that out there, and I'd have all those properties from before. If I didn't want to alter them, if you double click it and you go inside, you see you get that little compound, but it says not editable referenced. So I could either edit it, make it editable, and then I can go inside and change it. So I could play around with these settings. At the moment, they're all grayed out. So if I made it editable, I can change it in here, or, which is easier because so I don't have to keep diving into another compound, I'm going to just go right click, and like we do with the basic Aero source, just go explode. And now if I hit L on my keyboard, it'll line it all up a bit better. So I've now got that daisy chained, and because all these parameters are obviously generic to every sort of air source, they're all going to work. The only thing I don't need is this fog, because we now know that fog is being controlled by this sub-properties here. So I might just disconnect him and disconnect him And I might keep him here because we might want to. Actually, let's not do that. I'll leave him connected. Let's just do that because I might want to add another vary source, so I can just come in here and change that. What I'll do for the moment is just turn him off. So let's just go through and make sure we've got the right things, because obviously we're changing the temperature. So at the moment, this is going to overwrite what's going on here, which says 580, and do 40 to 300. So if I hit play, we're just going to see smoke. We're not going to get any combustion. So you can see it's slowly doing it. Is it even doing it? Probably. There's probably a bit of smoke coming out of it. And that's because obviously we need the temperature to be over 580 to ignite the fuel. So I'm just going to make this something like 800 and maybe make that 0. Just so we've got sort of a range of some bits not being combusted all the time. So let's hit play and see what happens. And there we go. So you can see we're getting slightly different over the surface. Already we're getting slightly more interesting, broken up combustion going on. Let's just pull this back a bit. And one of the big new things which are really handy is this auto termination they put in. So now when you hit escape, you don't have to wait for it to calculate, sometimes up to about 2 or 3 frames, which if it's calculating like, you know, a frame every 3 minutes, it's like a 10-minute wait for it to stop. Now you just go and it just stops, which is really good. So you can see we're getting a bit of stuff going on there. It's not massively interesting. Let's have a quick look at some of the properties. So we've done the basic setup. In the next video we'll look at some of the different properties for combustion.